about what the Alumni Association does, kind of how we connect with the campus, from students, faculty, staff, alumni, as Chris mentioned, more recently parents, and just a variety of ways we do that. And then, like I said, answer any questions you might have, as well as providing you with our individual contact information, and then kind of like the catch-all Alumni Association contact information if something comes up in the meantime, between now and forever. So as part of the Alumni Association, we work through a variety of channels to provide engaging opportunities, programming, information, perks, et cetera, to, in a way, all of the members of the CWRU community. Like I said, even though our name says the Alumni Association, it's very misleading because we're helpful on all accounts. We work with domestic chapters across the country, as well as internationally, as well as Crystal, who works with the Affinity networks, and she can speak more to that as well. And I think a part of that is the graduates of the last decade, which you guys would fall into coming up pretty soon. What else can I think of?
We're Central Alumni Relations, so just to minute what Tiana was kind of saying, each of the schools and professional schools have an alumni relations team, dental, but they kind of cater their programming and events toward their particular audience. So law school, you'd imagine there's probably a lot of law events programming kind of geared toward attorneys. Dental, same thing with dental medicine, dentist, orthodontist, like that kind of thing. However, our programming and events are for, like Tiana previously mentioned, for all alumni, all members of the CWRU community. Is kind of who we kind of target and engage with.
And so we usually are doing a lot of different kinds of programming. Tiana and I, as we mentioned before, we work with the alumni chapters, the domestic ones. And so we, in the old world, we would have been doing lots of different in-person events, stemming from anything from, we have speaker events where we have we'll spotlight an alumnus that lives in a particular city. We've had the former CFO and current Harvard lecturer, the former CFO of the New England Patriots and now current lecturer at Harvard Business School speak to alumni in Boston. We have had Dustin Tyler, who is a current professor that's working with the Human Fusions Institute, speak to alumni. We've done something as simple as happy hours. We've gone to different museums. We've done behind the scenes tours of sports stadiums, of gotten to talk with people who are movers and shakers in different industries across the country. And it's some really interesting and fascinating events. And it's always a lot of fun. We have a blast meeting alumni doing some amazing things all across the country. So it's always a lot of fun. And it's cool to see what alumni are doing once they get settled into careers and doing some really amazing things all across the world.
Sorry, Crystal. I just wanted to explain what CECIL does for alum. A lot of our events are online right now. So when you guys graduate, it'll be really easy to access some of the events. Of course, we have events right now for when you're still in school. But the main thing that I think CECIL has for alumni is we have a lot of service events that you can interact with other alum and also current students through the undergraduate programs, graduate programs, law school, all sorts of other programs.
Thank you, Sarah. And to echo Sarah's point, we as the Central Alumni Association work with partner interface, whatever word you want to use, with tons of campus partners. So a lot of times you'll see us promoting and sharing like CECIL events or Weatherhead events or et cetera, because we're all Case Western Reserve at the end of the day. So we, you interface with your individual places, but also know that the Alumni Association is like a central catch-all for a lot of things. because we get this information and we're just pushing it out through all the channels so that it's reaching as many people as it can. As Chris kind of mentioned, like before the pandemic, we did a lot of in-person events. And since then, we've been just trying to transition into the virtual realm. I think we've been doing a pretty good job of it, but we're always open to suggestions and new ideas for how we can tackle the virtual realm and provide like engaging content to you and to alumni, parents, etc. And we're always open, like I said, for suggestions, because we're here to, like I said, engage with you, work with you. So we really want to know what you, as members of the CWRU community, would want to see and want to do and participate in.
So I suppose in AMA fashion, we really should open it up for questions. Is there anything else that you had, Tiana?
No, I was going to say, if anyone has any questions or will want to know anything about specific programming, any areas of interest that you're looking to move into, or any, like Crystal works with the Affinity networks, anything that you would want to have more interest in or more, and I don't know if everyone knows what an Affinity network is. Crystal.
Yeah, so I have the pleasure of working with our affinity groups, or some institutions refer to them as shared interest groups, here at the Alumni Association. And so we have an African American Alumni Association, a Latinx Alumni Association, a Pride LGBT Alumni Network, undergraduate student government, as well as a Jewish Alumni Network. And so what those groups kind of do are programming that may center around like cultural celebrations, things that are things and lectures, events, programs that are particular to each group. So you'll see the Pride Alumni Network is extremely involved with the Lavender Graduation Celebration, which is for the LGBT community on campus. We also have nominations for an award going out. So if you know someone that has made significant contributions to the LGBT community, definitely take a look at that. So things of that nature. The African American Alumni Association hosts different lectures on lectures, events, programs. We just had a civil rights lecture during Black History Month, to the Latinx Alumni Association. It ran in the Daily today. They're doing a career panel discussion for the Latinx community of CWRU. So the programs and events that each of those affinity groups runs the gambit is just a way for people to connect around a shared interest, a shared identity, to engage and celebrate and connect with CWRU and with one another. I also oversee our Gold programming, which is also Gold meaning graduates of the last decade, so young alumni. And that's anybody that's has graduated from the institution within the last 10 years, whether it be from undergraduate or professional school. And so a lot of those things tend to be similar to, some things that are feature like professional development to networking, career fair, career guidance and things of that nature, to happy hours. So just kind of, it depends around the gamut as to what, we think that young alumni feel that would be beneficial or helpful. Because a lot of that times tends to be a little bit more like career oriented things for them. So happy to answer any questions about what I do and how we kind of interact. And then we also support student engagement when we have the opportunity to. So if ever, and that looks on multiple different ways, student organizations sometimes they reach out to an affinity group to ask for support, an alumni speaker, just for any help or guidance with any events. Like in the past, I know NEDSB has reached out, which is I believe the National Association of Black Engineers group on campus. They've reached out to the African American Alumni group just because they wanted help with networking or job interviewing skills and things of that nature. So those groups, affinity groups, are always great to help with that. The Latinx Alumni Association has like a formal mentoring program. And then, so those are ways that like we kind of connect with students on that level. And then we also have opportunities. We just co-sponsored with CWRU, Amnesty International, the Nina West event that was last month. So there's opportunities for us to collaborate, to support student experience here on campus. We're always happy and open to the opportunity to discuss it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be with an affinity group, or it could just be with the Alumni Association. So that's kind of what I have, and any other questions, let me know.
Thank you, Crystal. I was gonna say also, we do support student-run initiatives and student groups and everything. You don't have to be an alumni or like an official campus part. Like I think we just promoted earlier in March, the Spartan-thon, the dance marathon and everything like that. They were working on that, and they provided some excellent materials, and we just promoted it across our Facebook social media channels and things like that. So I hope that got them some extra eyeballs and push and things like that. But we're always here, like I said, to just support all the members of the CWRU community. So if you have, like Chris has mentioned in the chat, if you have any questions, feel free to, I feel that you should be able to mute and unmute yourselves. And if you would like to, you could just drop the questions directly in the chat and we can answer them that way.
I can start with a question that I came with. So I was looking on the website and I noticed that there are a couple of continuing education programs or initiatives for alums of Case Western. So can you tell us a little bit more about opportunities like MOOC and the Siegel lifelong learning programs?
Sure. So I actually work with Siegel Lifelong Learning. They are another great campus resource, campus community partner, but they also, operate outside of the campus to provide great programming to the community. So Siegel Lifelong Learning covers not even dozens and dozens and dozens of different topics and provide different speakers. I know the one coming up most recently on April 16th is going to feature the founder of Edwin's Institute, which works to provide opportunities for those who are formerly incarcerated to help them turn their lives around, learn skills, qualifications, et cetera, and just, get on the right path. And so he's going to talk and I think bring along some of his long-term cohorts to kind of discuss like what they do and how, if you're interested in, you can be more involved. But things like that. And then they also have, like you said, programming that offers continuing education credits, whether it's legal, whether it's, I think some of them might be medical focused or anthropological, et cetera. But they cover dozens of programmings, and those are open to everyone on campus. Now, some of them, I know going through Siegel have fees associated with them. Typically, like a lot of our events do not have fees associated with them, or they're minimal fees. This would still be considered a minimal fee. I think it's $5 if you're a member, $10 if you're not. But for some of these like programmings and events that they have, I think it's well worth it because of the quality and then the type of speaker you're getting. And so those are, like I said, offered on a variety. And we can I can grab the Siegel link for you guys and drop that in there too. Because you can just go right on the website and register for those. And they have them out, I think now through June of this year, but they're constantly adding more. Thank you, Chris. Chris has dropped the remote offerings link right in the chat for you guys. So feel free to go on there and take a look and see what's going on. And if you have any questions about how you specifically get registered for something, If you want more information on an event, you can always reach out to us directly and we can facilitate that and answer any questions you might have leading up to the event.
Thanks, Etienne. And so we had a question that came in through the chat that this is more of a personal question, but what is something that you wish you learned in college that would be more applicable to life after college? And how was the transition from graduation to finding your path and what you wanted to do? There's obviously there's a lot to unpack in that kind of a question. I think one of the things that that at least I felt that I wished I'd kind of known was just how, sometimes how often, how many times you've got to apply for different jobs that sometimes you just aren't the right fit. And I think I kind of walked out of college and it's like, oh, I've got this degree and I'm going to go in and I'm going to apply for this job that I'm pretty sure I'm qualified for, and they're going to give me a job. And yeah, I mean, yes, yes and no. There's some ups and downs to that, but there's having a better understanding of the company, I think, played a big part in something that was definitely a blind spot for me. Was when I applied for different jobs, knowing somebody that worked there, or at least knowing how I could network with somebody to connect with someone there, and going through people I probably already knew that, hey, I'm, even if it's something just as simple as posting on like a Facebook page and just saying, hey, I'm looking for someone that works here, or with LinkedIn, you can reach out to somebody that's in that company that maybe has, you can see how close your connections are, and knowing how to utilize LinkedIn efficiently and effectively, I think was something that I did get in my my graduate program, but in my undergraduate, it wasn't, and maybe I'm a little old, was not something that was available when I graduated in 05, so that probably didn't help. But I went back to school and got my master's in, I got my MBA in 2015, and it was drastically different. And I felt better prepared on how to build out my LinkedIn page and how to keep it active and accurate, and then also how to reach out to people. And I think that was something that was really important to know as I was transitioning out of, once I got my next degree, I was like, okay, well, now I've got to go on to the next thing. And I felt far better prepared after my MBA courses than I was for my undergraduate.
So this is something that I wish that I had learned in college. I think similar to you, Chris, was the importance of because I think that we might have been in that generation, similar to you, about finding a job and how looking for a job is a job in itself. Sometimes for some people, I don't know what other people's experiences are, but how you can do different things to help yourself stand out. And I wish that was something that was kind of talked about in college. So I got my first job I graduated from in May, and I didn't get my job until August, September. And how I got my first job out of college was with the Cleveland Indians. I have a sport management and finance background. And I emailed everybody whose job title that I thought I wanted to do. I was just like, that job is great. I just requested an informational interview with a couple people, and some of them I did by phone, and that was great. And the gentleman, I sent him an email, and I was just like, hey, I just want to know what you do, how you do, and how you got there. And he told me that he was like, I'll be in my office at 2:00 on Tuesday if you want to come down and we can talk in person. So I got dressed up, prepared questions, and we had an informational interview, and it was great. And I learned a lot about him. And then after the interview was over, he goes, oh, so do you have a resume? Looking for a job? I am actually looking for a job. So I always tell people, don't ever doubt the benefit of an informational interview. I think professionals are very open to talking about themselves, talking about their work, people that are very proud of it. And it's just a great way to, like I said, make a connection. And like I said, that's how I got my first job out of college. And I think that finding your path to what you really want to do, I think is just always being open to new opportunities, even if it's not necessarily something that you ideally want to do, because you just never know. At least that's what I've kind of found, for me personally. And I always look at things as opportunities to like put more things in my toolbox. So something that I can always kind of fall back on, or learning multiple skills, or having a background and knowledge about a lot of different things, are always really, for me, it was always like extremely like helpful. So I have a sport management and finance background, but clearly my master's is in higher ed administration, so that's very different. However, being able to find like a lot of different similarities in what you can kind of do, because I think that like those, and also work on those soft skills like being professional, networking. Those are things that like I don't think that they teach in college, or teach you that you can teach in class and that you'll be able to learn. But nothing always goes to like those soft skills that are really important. So like I would say, just always be open to learning something new, and taking chances on a new opportunity. And then sometimes, yeah, that would be my advice to how I kind of find what I like to do.
I was going to say kind of echoing Chris and Crystal. I just, like I shared at the beginning, Paul, I got my bachelor's degree just a couple years ago, because there's no timeline in getting your degree. It happens when it happens sometimes. But I would say that for me, the experience and the work skills and the careers that I had along the way really helped to push me further and get me where I am today. Sometimes I think kind of what Crystal said, people underestimate the value of a good experience, the value of just learning and taking in that opportunity or whatnot. So I know that, things vary, and, opportunities and timing and schedules vary. But if you have the opportunity to get into an internship or a position or a job or something in the field that you're considering or that you're majoring or something, even if it's just a couple of days a week, I would highly, highly suggest that you do it, because for a lot of future jobs and a lot of future places, that experience could mean the difference between you and another candidate with the same degree. So hands-on experience, hands-on networking, hands-on just experimentation and knowledge, it really makes an extravagant difference, I think, when you're trying to get to that end-all be-all position that you're looking to, gain from your experience in academia.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Tiana, even like so by the time I graduated from undergraduate, I had about 4 internships. And they were like, yeah, about 4 formal internships, and then 1 job shadowing experience where because I went, sport management and finance. I'm going to become a sports agent. I'm going to make a lot of money. I'm going to take 15% to 8% of somebody's $20 million contract. And like I had a whole plan of what I was going to do. And I shadowed an agency that dealt primarily with NFL contracts. And it was the worst experience of my life. Like the worst experience. I hated it. And I was just like, I don't want to do this for a living. Because I found that you spend a lot of time in fraternity suits. I'm just like, that's just not my scene of what I kind of want to do. So even like I said, like going back to like those experiences, like helping you figure out what you don't want or what you don't like early on in the game is also pretty crucial to kind of finding your path of like what you want to do. So if there's ever an opportunity, like I said, to even shadow someone, because I would have hated to have gone through that whole process of law school and then found out this is something that I don't want to do and waste that time and that money. So like I said,
I'm glad that you did not have to do that.
Right. It was a horrible experience, at least for me. And I was just like, I don't want to do this. And so had another whole year to figure out what I wanted to do. So
and I feel like that's very fair, that like you could have the whole idea set up in your mind, but that you could get there and you could be like, hey, this really isn't what I thought it was, or this is really not for me, and you can pivot, you could change, you can address it, you could like move on from there. I don't know, like I felt like I went through a portion in my life where I felt like, oh my goodness, I thought I was going to be a pediatrician my whole life, and then I got to school and I hated pre-med and it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And so I felt like I was stuck, or I felt like I didn't what to do next from there. And there's always like a next step. I don't want anyone to think like, oh, I've been planning my whole life, to be X and it didn't work out. Now what? I just feel like you just have to, I don't know, kind of dust yourself off and just get out there, even if it's like auditing classes, even if it's just talking to faculty in those departments. You would be surprised how, professionals in the fields that you are interested in, if you just call their offices sometimes, and talk to their secretaries or talk to them directly, they would be honored to have you come in and shadow them and kind of see what they're doing and see what they're going through, as long as it's not, pertinent private information. You would be surprised. You don't have to, go through a specific channel or agency or anything. You could just Google and pick up a phone and be like, I want to see if I can shadow this physician or this nursing, assistant or whatever it is you're interested in, this engineer. You can do that directly. Thank you for joining us. And then Chris also added to the chat the link for CWRU Connect, which is a revamp of the Wiser platform, if anyone was on there. It's the university's directory. It's a platform that allows you to interface with fellow students as well as alumni of the university. It lets you search by area, industry, as well as major, some other, just more general interests that are, some of them are outside of academia. It also allows you to connect with people based on what you're looking for, whether that's help with your resume, whether that's help becoming better at interviewing, or just, to what we spoke about, getting more information from that person who is in that industry and has direct experience. So that's a great platform to take advantage of. And if you're not on there, I would suggest joining. You could join directly with your single sign-on login.
Yeah, and there's even a specific program that the university runs through the postgraduate planning and experiential education department, and it's called Career Connections, and it's literally exactly what we were talking about, setting up those informational interviews. Prior to the pandemic, it would have been during spring break, would have been setting up job shadowing. But this year we actually have it specifically geared towards doing informational interviews. And so it's certainly something worth checking out. But like I said in the chat, there's some easy conversation starters that the program will even, that the Crew Connect will even set you up with. You say, I want to do an informational interview, and there's like 4 or 5 questions that'll provide you as kind of conversation starters and how to reach out to the alumnus to start that conversation, to kick off that connection with that alumnus. Makes it very, very easy. And we had a couple of questions that came in through the chat. How have you personally taken advantage of the benefits and opportunities the Alumni Association provides? And then we have another question as well, which I'll get to in a second.
So I think for me, as someone that is like a lifelong learner, I think being in this environment and meeting our alumni, I've learned, for me, like the events, programs, and lectures, I've learned so much, or I continue to learn or be exposed to a lot of different things that I probably normally would not have been. I think Chris brought up the Dustin Tyler's Human Fusions program and research, and how just being able to like learn about those different opportunities has been, to me, extremely just beneficial. So I think that like being at Case Western Reserve University, the different workshops, lectures that are hosted not only by us but across campus, I think are extremely beneficial, just to be a part of and to get to see the MLK Convocation speaker with Heather McGee, I think is, so anything that you can kind of take advantage of on campus, being in this environment, being with the Alumni Association, I think is one of the best parts about like being at Case Western, being part of this community. So for me, I think I like take advantage of all of it while you're here, even if like you're not even sure about it, just go give a listen.
I was gonna say, like, to echo Crystal, I try to take advantage of a lot of the opportunities that I know I would not normally get outside of Case Western. For example, Crystal mentioned the Nina West virtual performance that was a few weeks ago. And I don't know if anyone else watches RuPaul's Drag Race, but I saw Nina West perform a few seasons ago, and I thought she was absolutely hilarious. She won Miss Congeniality. She was great. And it would have, like, if it would have been in person or something, it would have been great to be able to go out to like a club and see her perform. And so having that opportunity kind of brought to me virtually was fantastic. I told all my friends, I was like, hey guys, we're gonna like watch this show and have drinks and do what to do. And so I had a lot of my friends who logged in and had drinks, and we were like having group texts about everything and how hilarious things were. So I like to, and same thing like prior to the pandemic, if things weren't virtual, I would always try to like get my friends and family involved and just spread the word that like, hey, this is something that Case is doing that we could be involved in at either at no cost or a minimal fee or anything like that. And I just think that it was, like I said, opportunity. The greatest thing is these are opportunities that I could not reach out to Nina West myself and organize something like this. So it was great to be able to have this opportunity through Case Western Reserve University, and that it is open to everybody, and that I was aware of it. So anything that I can do that I think of as like a once in a lifetime opportunity through Case, I try to seize the moment.
And I would kind of echo what Tiana said, that there's a lot of things that I wouldn't have access to without the Alumni Association. And perfect example. So one of the events that I put on a couple of weeks ago was the Blue Book Club, which actually this was our first version of this. And I got to interview Robert P. Madison. And for those of you who don't know, he is a 1948 graduate of the School of Architecture from CWRU. At the time, it was Western Reserve College or Western Reserve University. And he was a Buffalo soldier, fought in World War II in Italy, has just led an incredible, astonishing life. And I was able to read his book, and then was able to talk with him and interview him and be able to share his life and experiences with other alumni and even people that aren't even directly connected to the school. Maybe they just heard about it in some way or shape or form. It's astonishing to be able to see these amazing lives that other alumni have led. I think one of the things, so the next question that came in about what is the best part about the CWRU Alumni Relations Program, I don't know if it's necessarily the best part, but becoming part of the Alumni Association, I think sometimes the name doesn't necessarily convey the right information, and it's a free thing. It isn't something that you don't have to pay to be part of. There's lots of schools where you have to pay a membership fee to be part of the Alumni Association, and that's not what you graduate from the university and you are part of the Alumni Association, whether you live here in Cleveland, you live in Seattle, Washington, you live in London, England, doesn't matter. You are part of the Alumni Association, and a lot of the things that we supply to alumni are free, or as I think Crystal mentioned before, at very low cost. I mean, a lot of events that we're doing that you might not have access to on your own, or could cost you like maybe a couple $100, might cost you $20. And so it's really a pretty great thing to just not leave on the table, I guess. It's a again, I don't know that it's necessarily the best thing about it, but it's something that's wonderful about it. That's not always very typical with alumni associations. A lot of them are dues paying associations. Great question to both of you.
I was going to say something I really like about the Alumni Relations Program. And dare I say even more so in the pandemic, has kind of been the ability to connect the alumni with other alumni. And I say that it's a little better because in person we're limited by where we could travel and the number of alums, but like virtually anybody can join from anywhere. And so there's alumni or parents or students, that we have not previously interacted with or who had not been able to join us because we were limited, like I said, where we could go in person for those events. But virtually, the opportunities are limitless. You know, you could join from anywhere at any time. And then all of our programmings are also recorded and posted on that website that Chris listed a little earlier in the chat. And so it's been giving people an opportunity to, you know, see them after the fact, and interface with other alumni, or get to or hear other alumni speaking, or other students or other faculty members speaking that they never would have had the chance to do so with in person, because it just wasn't physically possible. And so I think I really like that part of the alumni relations program, that you're making these connections that would otherwise go they might not know that there are, 500 alumni in the city that they can connect with. And so being able to facilitate that kind of thing, or like bringing back connections, actually, people like, you haven't seen someone you went to school with in 30 years, and then they're all of a sudden at this event, and you're like, hey, this is fantastic. So I really like seeing those kind of like stories unfold as part of the, that's my personal best for the program.
I think that there's always, like, I think Chris hit on it too, that misconception about like alumni relations and alumni associations, that like, I think we did something similar with some students, and they just thought like, oh, you guys just host fancy dinners and ask people for money. And like, that's so far from like who we are and like what we do. A lot of the best thing I think about our program is that all of our programs and events for the most part come from alumni. At least in my role, I think similar to what you and Chris and Tiana do, it's very centered on our alumni volunteers, or who we kind of rely on for to help us program, help us figure out like what's cool to do in Boston, or what's nice or fun to do in Chicago. The Affinity Network leaders are so very hands-on with what programming and things that you kind of see from us. So I think that that's the best part, that it's something that is being very much so alumni centered and focused, and that we're able to bring that to their own, to share those opportunities with other alums within the community. So like I said, I think there's always that misconception about what alumni relations is, and like kind of what's kind of happening. But I think that the variety of programming and things that we offer, and the fact that, like I said, they're a lot of times are very alumni led and focused, that come up with these ideas, I think is what makes it so kind of cool and neat in what we do.
I would also say that while this is a small part of the Alumni Association, we also do have like a list of perks or whatnot that I think we offer, that you're available to as CWRU alums. I think some of them range from like, I don't know, like things which like Sherwin-Williams to like Enterprise to some more specific alumni run businesses and opportunities and things like that. And yeah, Chris is on top of things. And so he has posted the link to these perks that I am speaking of in the chat. And so we're constantly adding to these as we find out about them. And they're like I said, they're constantly changing and rolling off and rolling back on. So check these out frequently. And I think for a lot of them, you might not even need to be an alum, just some kind of affiliation with Case Western Reserve. So just take a look at them maybe now, and they might serve you out. I know if people are taking road trips or anything like that, you might need a car. Anyone else have any questions that they wanted to drop in the chat? Or I also want us to put our emails in here, or I'll put the central alumni email in here, and that way it'll get to all of us, no matter what your question is. So we are at alumnirelations@case.edu, super simple. And it's like a catch-all email for us. So if you send anything directly to alumnirelations@case.edu, it will get to Crystal, Chris, or myself, as well as anybody else on the team that might be, if you had a more specific catered question towards homecoming and reunion, we have a teammate who works, her tailbone off to plan homecoming and reunion every year. And with the virtual switch going, she's been really good about pivoting and things like that. Or if you have anything, any ideas or anything that you'd like to see, or wondering if we've done it, or just really anything. We're here to hear suggestions, opportunities, questions, as well as if you're looking to get ready to move someplace or you're looking for more information. We're also have the opportunity to connect you directly with some of those chapter leaders or some of those people that we speak with in those direct areas, as just opportunity, so you don't have to feel kind of lost in the sauce. I hope that was helpful. Well, then Sarah, I feel like you could take us home.
Thank you so much for the questions that you guys posed. And also thank you guys so much for giving us all this information about the Alumni Association programs and relations. As a current student, I think that they're very useful, and hope that the other students here also had a good time hearing about what we can do and all the opportunities that are coming our way. So with that, I would like to give some information about what is coming up for CECIL currently. If you're an alum, you can take part in these opportunities, and if you're a current student, you can take part in these opportunities. I have a little blurb that I want to put in the chat. Sorry, one second. There we go. So it's kind of long, sorry about that, but we have 4 main types of events coming up. The first one is called Mapping Prejudice, and it's a program they're all online. Sorry if you hear my dog in the background. It's going to be focused on the city of Minneapolis, and basically you're going to be helping volunteer your time to find the barriers that kept a lot of minority groups from obtaining equitable housing. That happened in a lot of cities, but this program is specifically focusing at this time in Minneapolis. The second type of program that we're having is called Free Minds, and there's going to be 2 times that's happening at the end of March, coming up pretty soon. I have the links in there for all of the events, but this one's really interesting. It's with a nonprofit based in DC, and basically it's a program that gives books and poetry and opportunities for people to write poetry, and those people are incarcerated. So this is a really important opportunity for them to be able to express themselves and give them an opportunity to think about things that are outside of their immediate resources. We also have a children's story audio recording opportunity coming up. There's 2 different dates for that, I believe, also in the chat. And this is just recording things so that people can listen to free children's books. They're pretty much always children's books, and it's kind of fun to see what these different books are about. They're all really old. So it's kind of a fun thing. And then the last one is Assisting Researchers Around the World project, and that's just various research programs, and you get matched on an online profile, so it's going to be different pretty much every time that you do it. So those are the things that the CECIL office has coming up for current students and alumni.
Those sound excellent. I have clicked on several of these links to save them for later. Thank you, Sarah.
No problem. That's all that CECIL has to say about everything. So.
I think that's all we have at the Alumni Association. But again, you don't have to stop the conversation. We've dropped all of our chat and email information in there. So if anything comes up between now and, like I said, forever, we are here and available. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Tell your friends. say, hey, we went to this presentation, and those alumni association people, they're all right. They know what they're talking about. But yeah, that's really all we ask, is that, you kind of like spread the word of what we've said here. Like, we're not just the Alumni Association. We have a lot of opportunities for everybody. That's it. Thank you guys
Thank you for the questions.
today. Oh yes, thank you for those questions.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Sarah.
No problem. I can get this recording to you as soon as it's done loading on my computer.
No problem.
Thank you so much,
It's
Sarah,
Friday.
for meeting us.
And
Thank you, Chris and Crystal.
See you, Tiana. See you, Chris. Have a good weekend, guys.